And I think a surprise it's going to be coming along the way to Seahawk fans. Every training camp, there is seemingly a surprise. I kind of hit on this last week, right? That just when you think you know everything, you've seen everything, you've got your I's dotted, your T's crossed, you know this roster inside and out, there's a surprise. There's Percy Harvin not participating. Where's Percy? There's Cam Chancellor holding out. There's just going to be a surprise. And I think you need to keep an eye, in this being Seahawk fans and people that cover the team, I think you need to keep an eye on whether or not Devon Witherspoon is there. Because there's some rumblings around that, contractually he's still not signed. We have seen these deals done with Quandre, or at least become public, with Quandre and Uchenna and freeing up some money. And there's been a lot of thought that, well, this is so they can, maybe sign someone down the road. I'll get to that in Blue 88, or maybe it's to sign Devon or Charbonnet and get everybody signed. Everybody is signed, but the number 5 pick.
So they have all of their other deals done with all of their draft picks. Jackson Smith and Jigba's gotten done. Everything else is done.
Everyone else is done.
And most of the first-round picks around the league have gotten done in the last few days. We've seen a bunch of those get signed. I'm surprised that could be an issue because I thought the new CBA pretty well ended these rookie holdouts because you just slot right in. Like, why would this be an issue?
Because it's all about how much of the guaranteed money can I get in my pocket today. That's what it's about. It's not about any numbers. You're absolutely right.
The numbers are locked in, right?
Yeah, things are slotted, and the number 1 pick is going to get this amount, number 2, number 3, and you work yourself down, and there's a pretty big gap. And by the time you get to number 5, it is still a ton of money, and that went into whom they picked, right? Whom they trusted, the kind of guy they wanted. I think why maybe Jalen Carter and some of just the question marks. How much money do I want to guarantee? And literally a guaranteed signing bonus that goes into his bank account the day that he signs. And when you're talking about number 5 pick, also remember the Seahawks have not been here. They've not been in these waters. Russell Okung was what, 6? And that was 14 years ago when it was a very different cap and a very different amount of money. It is a large sum. It's a little bit convoluted because, remember, 3 guys that went ahead of him play what position?
Quarterback.
Yes.
That changes things.
Yes, it does. And those quarterbacks got a lot of money. They all got huge guarantees of the amount of in that signing bonus of when they got that money. They all got it that day. CJ Stroud got that money that day. Bryce got that money that day.
So hold on. So let me make sure I understand this because I was under the impression that A, as we talked about, there's a slot, so they're not arguing over how much he's going to get paid.
Nope.
B, that I thought rookie contracts for guys like that were guaranteed.
They are.
So you're not even arguing about how much money he's going to get
in his pocket. No.
It's just when you get it.
It is just when you get it.
That's the only thing that's worth holding out over?
Well, right now, it sure appears that's worth holding out for.
I don't understand that, especially, if it was about amount or even about amount guaranteed.
No.
But you're telling me those two things would be set in stone. It would only be about when you get the payday?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Do you remember some of these rumblings? I don't know when it was.
Look, you know what? All right, let me make a case for what he's saying.
Well, hold on just 1 second, though. Let me just, to add context, wasn't there a whole conversation? I remember having this conversation with Brady, or it was written about the difference between cap and cash.
Right.
We've had some of that, and I don't want to go down that road too far. It's way too boring, but that's what this comes down to. Okay, so you know what the cap, you know what the numbers, you know what the guarantees. It's just a matter of when that player will get that cash on hand.
Yeah, well, I guess if I'm trying to make an argument, if I'm his agent and I'm trying to make that argument, I guess what I would say is, hey, look, in the past it wasn't that big a deal. Inflation was low and borrowing money was incredibly cheap. But over the last few years, hey, I need money. If I want it, the value of money is actually higher, right? Because it's harder to get cash out of a bank, right? Instead of paying 3% on a mortgage, you're paying 8 or 9% potentially, or at the very least 6 or 7, depending on what kind of a loan you're looking at. And oh, by the way, inflation went up 4, 8, 5% over the last 3 years. So being paid now versus being paid in a year or two might actually be a fairly significant difference. What if it's a 10% difference in terms of the value of that money?
Yeah, that feels like a lot.
I think I kind of understand that.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like a big, big number. I don't know if it's going to be quite that percentage. You also are in a state where, thankful for him, you do not have a state income tax like many of these other guys that have gotten their dough in some other places and see an enormous amount of that percentage gone.
Yeah.
So, and ultimately it comes down to, I mean, do you want to get on the field? How much time are you willing to miss for this.
Well, and not only that, but hey, man, this is not a position in this camp that you can afford to not be there, because Mike Jackson's not going anywhere. Trey Brown's not going anywhere. Like, they've got some, obviously, Tariq Woolen. Like, they got some dudes.
Yep.
They were pretty good at that position last year. They drafted you even though it wasn't a position of need.
Yes. And now Tariq, I believe, will start on the PUP. Noah Fant will start on the PUP. Jordan and Jamal are certainly going to start on that PUP list. So even an opportunity, as Woolen is still coming back from that knee, and they're going to be careful with him, and they're not going to rush him in, that, hey, man, you could get right out there with the ones today, with Woolen out, your chance, your opportunity, and with this head coach, and with how important these limited reps are, I think there's some real questions that I hope this agent and player understand, that if you want to play hardball.
Who is his agent?
I'm not familiar.
Okay.
I'm not terribly familiar. And even in an agency, there's different agents that work with different players. So, but this is going to be a decision. I think this is going to be a storyline. We'll see whether in the early hours of today he decided, forget this, man. I'm going to get my money, and whether I get it today or I get it in January, the second half of whatever it is, I got to be out here with my guys. Or if you don't see him today, understand that that's a big part of the squad.
All right. Well, we will watch out for that. And you mentioned a few other guys.